So Peter, thanks for taking us through the boutique. It was really cool to see the tour. It's come together really well, the boutique. Tell us what's, I guess, the idea behind what you've done here and also the location on Collins Street.
So the location is right in the epicenter of Melbourne CBD. It's in the heart of where a lot of other watch shops are, and we're just so lucky to manage to get a place right slotted in the middle of all of them.
Yeah.
There's some great brands here, and we feel that we have really well and truly stepped up to the international stage. We're getting more and more people know who we are as a brand. We're still quite a small company, and we produce around 10,000 watches a year. So compared to a lot of other brands, we are still the new kids on the block. So this is a real step forward, a step up. I've been told that it's one of the best locations of any Bremont store in the world. So extremely happy, excited to see how we perform here.
Yeah, and look, I think you guys are going to do real well, and I think from what you've explained in the tour, the experience of buying a timepiece from Bremont is going to be a little bit unique. You know, it is going to be a little bit special, and part of what's special, I guess, for me about Bremont is the brand and the story.
Yes, yeah.
And that's kind of what I fell in love with, I suppose. And when, you know, I've had the privilege of meeting Giles himself and having a talk with him, and his passion really comes through for the story of the brand and how it all started. So I guess, you know, for people who are watching this, can you tell them a little bit about that story and about the brand and what Bremont actually means? So
Bremont's got a bit of a different story to all the other watch brands that are out there. Number one, we are from England. We're a British watch company. Everybody else thinks of other countries when they first think of watchmaking, but it was originally a very British thing. I think there's a very large percentage of innovation in watchmaking was actually done on British shores, and unfortunately, the country went through World War I and World War II, and we lost a lot of watchmakers, and we closed a lot of manufacture down in order for us to fight the war. Watchmakers were repurposed, and the country focused its efforts on engines and aeroplanes, and that is something that we've actually continued to do. A lot of the world's Formula One teams are actually based in London, so we've got this rich engineering heritage.
And I guess, you know, from my perspective, like you said, you know, British watchmaking was, you know, they were the number one in the world at one point in time. You know, if you go back 100 years, 65% or so of all luxury or high-end watches were made in England.
Yes,
you know? And when you look at, you know, prior to that, a lot of, you know, navigational tools and timekeeping tools that allowed the exploration around the world came from England.
Yes, correct. And that was the inspiration behind our new movement. So the crowning achievement of any watch company is to make your own movement. And it's something that took us around 18, 19 years to achieve. Our goal from the start has always been to bring watchmaking back to its ancestral home.
Which I think you've done pretty well so far. I mean, the new E&G 300 movements are fantastic, and they look great. And, you know, in the new Fury, which is what I'm wearing today, you know, I think it's a testament to what, you know, Giles and Nick and I guess the wider Bremont team have done.
Yes.
And look, one of the things that drew me into the brand is the story of Bremont and how it started, you know. And when you listen to Giles talk about his love for watchmaking and aviation, you can kind of see that coming through. So, you know, most people don't know, though, the story of why it's called Bremont. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so the two brothers, Nick and Giles, English, had a little bit of a problem. When their brand had first started, they had watches without any name written on them, and it's because of their surname. English was a little bit difficult. They thought they might have some problems just putting English watch company on a watch. So it was something that took a little bit of time for them to discover. But one day, the story goes that one day they were actually flying in France in quite an old plane, and there was the weather got a little bit bad, and they had to make an emergency landing in a pea field in Bordeaux. Now, the French authorities are quite strict when it comes to that sort of thing. They would take your plane off you, disassemble it, charge you an incredible amount of money, and I believe it was at this incredible time when they needed every penny to take the watch brand forward.
Yeah.
What happened was their saviour came forward, an old French farmer who owned the land, and assisted them in hiding the plane in a barn for a few days whilst the heat came down. And this gentleman reminded them of their father, who was their number one inspiration for the brand. And his name was Antoine Bremont. So once they managed to safely get their father's plane home, they gave Antoine a call and asked him, would you mind using your name, Bremont, for our watch brand? And he said, "Oh, you crazy Englishman, that's okay." And he was a very, very old guy, and he was around to see his name on a lot of our watches, and it is something that just flows, that sounds natural nowadays.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, yeah.
And I think like that to me is that sort of spirited adventure and pioneering spirit that, you know, Giles and Nick had.
Yes. And
that kind of continues today, because quite a few of your ambassadors are adventurers. I mean,
Yes,
you look
yeah.
at Nims Purger, who did, you know, he set the record for the 14 peaks.
Yep.
You know, I mean, the previous record was about, I think it was like 14 years, and then he said
8 years.
Eight years something. Now it was 7, and they have some like Kristen Horella who's trying to do it in a super record time, and as of like last week, she's just now done 11 out of the 14.
Yes,
and she's got 3 more to go.
Yes, yeah.
You know, in the space of 2 months.
Absolutely inspiring. Here in Australia, we've also got a lot of adventurers. So we had Dr. Richard Harris, who was the cave diver who helped save all the children in Thailand. He was Australian Adventurer of the Year 2020. He's a military motivational speaker, and he has borne Bremont for quite a long time as well, probably more to his military ties. There's a gentleman, quite a few, there's a gentleman that flew around the world in a boat, Australian Adventurer of the Year 2016. He was wearing our watch during that as well.
Yeah.
And then a lot of international people as well, like Aldo Kane,
that
are wearing our watches, as well as we've had a few sort of adventurous movie stars wearing our watches as well.
Yes, I know Tom Cruise has been one of those people.
Yes, yeah. He had a few ties to Bremont before, because he has a lot of old vintage planes, and I believe Nick and Giles' family helped assist him in doing some of these planes up as well. So he was one of our first sort of customers. He was nothing official, but he's a bit of a watch fan as well.
Yep,
so,
clearly.
Yeah, and an adventurous guy.
Awesome. Look, I just want to say thank you from us at Watch Advice. I think the audience has really benefited from this, and I'd say to the people out there, if you are in Melbourne, and look, if you're not in Melbourne, but you want to come down and check out the Bremont Boutique on Collins Street, do so. The staff here are wonderful. Talk to Peter, who's the manager. He will help you out. And while you're here, obviously you can try on some of the pieces, listen to some of the history, and at the end, hopefully, if you fall in love with it like I have, you buy a piece and you can have a whiskey to celebrate. So thank you very much, Peter, from us.
Thank you very much.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.